Hello everybody. In this screencast we're going to look at a very interesting library. It's called JSON. Okay, this library allows you to change Java objects to JSON and JSON to Java objects. It's very interesting. So meaning that it can do serialization and deserialization. Okay. So basically, let me just show you something very quickly to show you how easy it is to parse these, the example that we were working with. Though, let me open Postman. Where you look at a person, like the JSON person, for example, something like this, right? So it's very, very simple. All we have to do is first, because it's a library, we have to import it in the, you go to the Gradle file, and we need to copy this and paste it here. This is the import statement. And you just say sync now. Now it's synced. Now, basically, this is the person. Here's the person, JSON, right? So now it's very simple. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to come here, and I am going to create a new instance of JSON. So JSON, here it is, JSON equal new JSON. Very simple, here it is. And now to get the person is one line. Let's say person equals JSON. It's one line, but there is some pre-work that you have to do and to be careful so that this should work. And then you say dot from JSON. So basically you want to get the person class from JSON. And basically I'll use the one that uses the reader. Okay, let's do this. And then how do I get the reader? It's the response. Let's do this again. I'll just make the screen a little bit bigger. Response dot body dot, and you could see here the character stream is the reader. And then what's the class that I want to cast it to? So I'm going to get this JSON. I want to cast it to a person class. Okay, here it is. So that's basically all what we did is just JSON library, and you tell it from JSON, I want to take this JSON and cast it to or map it to this class. And I'll say log d, and I'm going to print the person just to show you that I'm able to get that person. Okay, person. Now when we run it, just 2 lines. Actually, the whole code is just 2 lines. Now when you go here, and you could see here, I did get the person, right? I did parse it. Okay. So now, what is the catch? The catch is that you have to be a little bit careful when you do use JSON. How? Meaning, when I created these classes, like for example, when I create the person class, I created the names of the variables to match exactly the names of the variables for the person. So this is a person. Person has a name. Here is the name. Has an age. Here is the age. Has an ID. This is the ID. And then has an address, which is called address. And then if you open up address, you see here it has an address, which is another object called address. And that other object called address has exactly the same naming scheme as whatever address object here. Like, for example, if I change it from line 1 and call it, for example, let me call it, say, for example, line 2 and run it, it's not going to work. Let me remove these getter and setter. Here it is. Now I will also make this line 2 just for the sake of testing. Run it again. Okay, now it's not happy. Oh, let's see. Oh, I have this code in the previous. Okay, let me delete these. I don't need them. Okay, I'll delete these parsers that we used before. Run it again. Okay, here is the logcat. And you can see now that I am not able to get line 1. Why? Because the problem is that now it has a different name in my class. See, it's called line 2 in the class, but in JSON, it's called line 1. So it needs to match. Make it line 1. I don't need these getters and setters. I had them for the XML parsers, right? So this is line 1. Now you could see that if you run it, you could see that I am able to get it. Does this work also with arrays? Yes, it does work with arrays. Like if we want to do the same thing for person, same story. We'll do the exact same thing. So what I could do is I will change this to S, right? And I'm going to do it like this. And it's going to come back as an array of person. All right. So basically what I did is that, remember it will cause a lot of problems because the issue is that to parse this one is a little bit different. So it's not going to work directly because it's not going to work. So I'll explain it a little bit. But you see, the person is straightforward because you are passing a specific person, right? The person the person to the person class, and that worked, and I did demonstrate that, right? But to do the persons, we need to adapt the object a little bit, and we'll look at it in a little bit. So that's the person. There it is, the persons. That's the person. We are able to get one person, right? All right. So now, what about if I want to get the array of persons? All right, we'll do that. But if you do the array of persons, you have to match exactly the same JSON. So when you run it, the problem is that now the JSON, if you want to map this JSON to a person, how? I cannot just map it to, I need to map this one to an array of persons, right? So to do that, what I can do is I could just create another class. I'll create a new class. I'll call it, for example, persons response, for example, right? That's the person's response. And inside the person's response, there is an array list. I know there will be an array list of person, right? And the name of it is persons. That's it. So basically, I'm going to create an array list, and that array list is of persons. Meaning, why it's persons? It's here. It is persons, right? Now, when I go back here, what I have to do is I will come here, and I don't need this one. I'm going to need to create a person's response. Person's response equals JSON dot from JSON, and the same exact scenario. Okay, let me just copy this code from here to here. And this one is not the person class. It is what? It is the person response dot class. Now, the only difference here is that now, if you look at what's going to happen, is that this person's response looks exactly the same as what? As this response. You see, it only has one element, the one element, which is an array. Here is an array of type person, right? And then type person satisfies this format, right? And then inside person, there is an address which also satisfies this format. So it is recursive. It satisfies this recursively. So now we go here. I'll copy this response. I'm not interested in the whole response. I'm interested only in the persons. Let's see if I'm able to get them. Run this. Go to look@, and we are getting null. It's fine. So let's see why we are getting null. Let's make sure that the URL is not set up correctly. It's persons. Run it again, and we're getting the array. You see here, this is the array of persons. All right, and it's already parsed. Everything is fine. If you want to use GSON, it's very nice library, makes life very easy, but you have to be careful with the naming of the parameters to make sure that these parameters match the same structure and naming of the parameters in the JSON itself. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.